In Revenge of the Sith, we saw Anakin Skywalker make the choice that doomed him. In the Chancellor's chamber aboard the Invisible Hand, Count Dooku knelt before him, disarmed and defeated. Palpatine urged him on. Anakin obeyed, striking Dooku down in cold blood. That single act set him on the path to Darth Vader. The Jedi fell. The Republic became the Empire, and the galaxy was consumed by darkness. But what if Anakin chose differently? What if, in that moment after killing Dooku, he didn't remain a Jedi at all? What if he turned his back on the Order, the Council, and even the Chancellor, walking his own path instead? In this version of the story, that's exactly what happens. And nothing turns out the same. Let's begin. Do it. For a long moment, Anakin hesitated. Mercy was the Jedi way. But rage, grief, and fear, all the emotions he had carried since his mother's death, rose to the surface. His lightsabers crossed in one brutal motion, and Dooku's life ended. That single act shattered the fragile line between Jedi and darkness. After the battle, the Chancellor was safe, and the galaxy hailed Anakin as a hero. But inside the Jedi Temple, Yoda and Mace Windu were troubled. Investigators recovered the final recordings from the Invisible Hand before it was scrapped. With no sound, only the image of Anakin brutally executing Dooku remained. The council gathered in full. Obi-Wan sat in disbelief as he watched his former apprentice cross the line. When Anakin himself entered the chamber, he thought it was just another mission debrief. But then he saw the recordings. He was forced to relive the moment he tried to bury. Yoda's eyes narrowed. "Why, young Skywalker? Kill him, did you?" Anakin stammered, but the memory came rushing back. And then, with a voice steady but filled with unease, he spoke. "Because Chancellor Palpatine told me to." The council fell silent. The pieces began to shift. Palpatine had not just been rescued, he had orchestrated the killing. For years, whispers of a Sith Lord manipulating the Republic had haunted the Jedi. Now the suspicion pointed directly at the Chancellor. That evening, Obi-Wan found Anakin on a balcony, the sun setting over Coruscant. The city glowed gold, but Anakin's face was clouded. "I had to do it, Master. Dooku would have killed us both. He nearly killed you." Obi-Wan sighed, remembering his own battle with Darth Maul years ago. "I know what it feels like, Anakin. I nearly gave in to those same emotions. But the dark side, it only offers the illusion of strength. In the end, it destroys those who embrace it." Anakin turned away. "You don't understand. When I fought him, I felt unstoppable." "Exactly," Obi-Wan replied. "That's the trap. You think it makes you invincible, but the dark side always consumes itself." The words sank in, but they didn't silence the storm raging inside Anakin. Mace Windu devised a plan. Palpatine's mask had to slip, and Anakin would be the bait. A tiny listening device was hidden inside his lightsaber hilt, masked by the Force signature of the crystal, so that whatever Palpatine revealed would be heard by the Council. The next day, Anakin entered the Chancellor's office. Palpatine greeted him warmly, speaking like the father figure he had always pretended to be. He praised Anakin's strength, told him the Jedi feared him, and whispered promises of power beyond imagination, knowledge to cheat death itself. Anakin pressed him. "How do you know these things?" And at last Palpatine said the words aloud. "Because I am the Sith Lord the Jedi fear, Darth Sidious." Across the city, the council listened in silence. The trap was sprung. The Jedi moved quickly. Mace Windu, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and others confronted Palpatine directly. The Red Guards fell instantly, and the duel began. Sidious moved like a shadow, cutting down 3 masters before anyone could react. His twin blades spun in a storm of red light. The battle raged across the Chancellor's office. With a violent wave of the Force, Sidious collapsed part of the chamber, separating Yoda and Windu from the fight. Only Anakin and Obi-Wan remained to face him. Sidious pressed his attack, his voice hissing. "Join me, Anakin. With my power, you can save the ones you love." But Obi-Wan's voice cut through the chaos. "Don't listen! You're stronger than he is, Anakin!" And for once, Anakin believed him. Together, their blades moved as one, forcing Sidious back step by step. Finally, when the Sith Lord unleashed a storm of lightning, the 2 Jedi caught it with their sabers, reflecting it back upon him. Sidious screamed as his own power consumed him. His body crumbled. His reign ended in fire and ash. The Sith were gone. But victory did not bring Anakin peace. The Council praised him, but he could still feel their suspicion. They had seen what he had done to Dooku, they had watched him waver, and in their silence he felt their judgment. He confided in Padme, "They don't trust me, they never will." Padme tried to reassure him, but Anakin's decision was already forming. He wasn't going to walk down Palpatine's path, but he couldn't remain bound to the Jedi either. "I'm done, Padme. The Order is a machine for war now. I'll fight for peace in my own way, but not as their pawn." With that, he handed his lightsaber back to Obi-Wan. The look of heartbreak on his master's face said everything. "I can't stop you," Obi-Wan whispered, "but I will always believe in you, Anakin." And so the Chosen One turned his back on the Jedi Temple and walked into an uncertain future. Anakin returned to Tatooine, but not to mourn. This time, to wage a war of his own. He hunted the Tusken Raiders who had taken his mother, wiping out tribes in a storm of fire and rage. Stories spread across the desert of a blue blade cutting through the night, of an Avenger who left no survivors. But vengeance gave way to purpose. Anakin began targeting slavers, criminals, and the Hutt syndicates. He took an old D5 Mantis patrol craft, modified it with his own hands, and became a shadow moving from world to world. At night, he was a terror to slavers and pirates. By day, he was just another face in the crowd. The people of the Outer Rim began to whisper of a nameless guardian. Yet the Jedi were not blind. Obi-Wan and Master Palpatine tracked rumors of this vigilante, desperate to bring Anakin back. Quinlan Vos confirmed the worst. The massacres of the Tuskens were indeed Anakin's doing. Still, they never found him. Anakin had chosen his own path, and he would not turn back. Anakin's crusade did not go unnoticed. Slavers vanished, syndicates lost profits, and whispers of a hooded figure with a glowing blade spread like wildfire. For the first time in living memory, the Hutts were afraid. Jabba himself demanded this nameless vigilante be crushed. Bounty hunters poured into Tatooine. Among them was Cad Bane, the galaxy's most notorious mercenary. Their first clash was brutal. Anakin's blade against Cad's cunning gadgets. Bane escaped, but the fight cemented one truth. Whoever this vigilante was, he was strong enough to threaten the Hutt cartel. Anakin escalated. He stormed Jabba's palace under the cover of night, cutting through guards and freeing captives. Before the slug crime lord, he did something bold. He broadcast the scene across Tatooine. "Your reign is over." The people watched Jabba plead for his life before Anakin ended it. By dawn, the planet that had suffered under Hutt oppression for generations finally breathed free air. But freedom came at a cost. Without the Hutts, Tatooine teetered on chaos. Rival gangs rose, pirates tried to fill the void, and bounty hunters redoubled their efforts. Anakin didn't flinch. He hunted them system by system. On Rhodia, he toppled a trafficking ring by sabotaging a pod race and humiliating its crime lord. On Malastare, he ambushed slavers and left their stockpiles to be reclaimed by freed families. To the Outer Rim, he became more than a man. He was a myth, a shadow who struck at night, vanishing before dawn. Still, not everyone saw a hero. The Jedi Council sent investigators. Quinlan Vos used his psychometry to confirm Anakin's hand in the Tusken genocide. Obi-Wan lingered in the Outer Rim, following rumors of a hooded figure who punished criminals with brutal finality. He never found him, but he knew. It could only be Anakin. And yet, when the galaxy plunged deeper into the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan was recalled. The Jedi couldn't spare him for one man, even one who mattered as much as Anakin. Alone, Anakin began to reflect. Entire Tusken tribes wiped from existence. Whole bloodlines gone. At first he justified it, vengeance, protection, justice. But on a distant moon, he encountered a hunting people who always left one egg behind when they took from the nests of their birds of prey. They believed life must continue. The lesson struck him hard. He realized he had gone too far. Even vengeance had limits. He could never undo the genocide, but he could learn. He could change. His lightsaber crystal, once the bright blue of a Jedi Knight, flickered now with strange shades of yellow and orange, an outward reflection of the storm within. Meanwhile, Palpatine's grand design began to unravel. Without Anakin, he had no perfect apprentice to mold into Darth Vader. Order 66, the plan to annihilate the Jedi, became riskier. Palpatine still held immense power, but his schemes were slower, less precise. The Clone Wars dragged on, but the Republic held together. The Jedi Order, battered but alive, continued to fight, and in the shadows, Palpatine scrambled for replacements, new pawns who could never quite match Anakin Skywalker. Years passed. Anakin's path eventually crossed Padme's once more. She had feared him dead, but when she saw him step out of that battered patrol craft, older and hardened, she realized he had survived, but changed. "You left," she whispered, "and yet here you are." Anakin confessed his truth: the massacres, the hunts, the lonely years. He spoke of fighting for peace outside the Order's chains. Padme listened, torn between sorrow and admiration. She told him the Republic still needed him, not as a Jedi, but as the man he had become. For the first time since leaving the temple, Anakin felt he might belong somewhere again. And so, their love was no longer hidden. Together, they built a life in the open. When their children were born, Luke and Leia were raised not in secrecy, but in hope. Without Anakin to wield as a weapon, Palpatine's downfall came earlier. His confession as Sidious, recorded by the Jedi through Anakin's bugged lightsaber, became a weapon. Masters Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, and others confronted him openly. This time, with no apprentice to shield him, Sidious was struck down. The Separatists collapsed soon after. Grievous was hunted on Utapau, the Council captured, and the war finally ended. The galaxy entered a new era. The Senate reasserted control, scaling back emergency powers. The Jedi, freed from the role of generals, returned to being peacekeepers. They traveled the stars not as soldiers, but as mediators once more. And though Anakin had left the Order, he was not forgotten. He would fight crime in Coruscant's Undercity, protecting the powerless at night, while by day he lived openly with Padme and their children. His deeds inspired others, ordinary beings who rose to defend their neighbors, creating pockets of hope across the galaxy. As years passed, Anakin softened. He became a teacher, sharing stories of the Clone Wars, of mistakes made and lessons learned. To his children, he was not a fallen knight or a dark lord, he was a father who had chosen love over power. And to the galaxy, he remained a mystery. Some called him a vigilante, others a savior, but those who knew him best saw him for what he truly was, the chosen one who had walked away from both destiny and darkness, carving his own path. What if Anakin Skywalker had left the Jedi Order after killing Count Dooku? Maybe the Jedi wouldn't have returned with glory or titles. Maybe peace wouldn't have come through grand councils or military victories. Maybe it would have come quietly, through struggle, through exile, through forgiveness. Because walking away wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something harder. And Anakin Skywalker? He wasn't just the chosen one or the man who became Darth Vader. In this story, he was something else entirely, the man the galaxy had to accept, whether it was ready or not. If you enjoyed this alternate timeline, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Star Wars stories. And as always, may the Force be with you.